in the morning. I had just reached the backyard when I heard a strange cry. Out of curiosity, I gently approached the direction of the sound. I didn't expect that there was a super cute little wild boar hidden in the grass. The round appearance of the little piggy makes people want to laugh. Just as I was about to leave, more piglets appeared, and it was very lively. The little piglets arched and ran round like a group of little explorers. Suddenly, a big wolf appeared from not far away, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little dignified. The big wolf's eyes have been locked on those little guys, and I can't help but hold my breath. Just then, the mother wild boar rushed out of the forest. The mother wild boar directly blocked in front of the little piglet, full of momentum, and the scene instantly exploded. The big wolf confronted the mother boar for a moment, like a blockbuster in the animal kingdom. Finally, the big wolf quietly retreated, and the little piglets began to play happily again. Everything was quiet and lovely again. I stood nearby, watching these little guys quietly. The little piglets looked a little reserved, and their little ears pricked up from time to time. A gust of wind blew, the leaves of grass swayed gently, and the piglets immediately stopped their movements. The scene was exceptionally quiet, but it was filled with a cautious atmosphere. A trace of curiosity rose in my heart. What are the little piglets waiting for? The little piglets looked around, occasionally humming softly, as if in response to a certain signal. I can't help but wonder, are the piglets playing hide and seek? Or are they waiting for someone to come back? Each of them tilted their little heads and looked serious, as if they were in a meeting. At that moment, I was completely hooked on these little guys. Time seems to have slowed down, leaving only the subtle movements of the piglets. I thought to myself, maybe the next story would be more interesting. The little piglets are playing freely. Some piglets arched in the grass. Some chased leaves in circles. The little piglets seem to be curious about everything here. Occasionally a breeze blows, and the little tail wags particularly cute. I'm standing not far away, watching this scene. Can't help but laugh in my heart. The little guys can't stop for a moment. They're full of energy. The little piglets occasionally looked up and looked around, as if listening to something. The little piggy looks cute and mysterious. I was suddenly curious. Where did the little piglets come from? And why did they come here? A question arose in my mind. Where is their mother? Perhaps there is a little story behind this. I looked at these cute little piglets, and I couldn't help but walk up. I slowed down and greeted the piglets softly. The little piglets seemed to notice me too, and their little ears moved gently. A few little guys watched in place, and a few quietly retreated. After all, this is the first time we have met, and we are still a little strange to each other. I crouched down quietly, making no sound. Just then, a slightly bolder little piglet walked over. The little piggy approached cautiously, his eyes full of curiosity. I stretched out my finger, and the little piggy sniffed it lightly, and the action was very cute. At that moment, the little fellow seemed to be saying, "Who are you?" I can't help but laugh. It feels like I'm making new friends. The little piggy tilted his head and looked at me, polite and innocent, so cute. After a while, the little ones became more and more relaxed with me. The little piglets no longer hesitated, but approached one by one. Some little piglets arched my fingers gently, some raised their heads and looked at me curiously. The little piggy's sparkling eyes were filled with innocence and curiosity. I can't help but laugh. This encounter is so cute. A few brave little piglets took the initiative to move forward. You squeeze me, I squeeze you, like a race to say hello first. There is a relaxed and happy atmosphere in the air. I crouched down, and a few little piglets immediately surrounded me. The piglets are clever and adorable, like a group of little explorers. Those cute little faces are really healing in an instant. I was having a good time with the piglets and completely ignored the movement around me. Just then, a rustling sound came from a distance. I looked up, and a shocking scene appeared. A big wolf quietly appeared not far away. The big wolf stood still, his eyes fixed on the little piglets. The air suddenly became quiet. Even the wind seemed to stop. The piglets' ears stood up, and they all stopped moving. The little piglets seemed to notice a difference, but they were a little confused. The big wolf stood there, as if observing everything around him. I held my breath and stood gently in front of the little piggy. After a few seconds, the big wolf paused, then turned and left. I breathed a sigh of relief. This backyard encounter was so thrilling. After the wolf left, the air seemed a little lighter. The little piglets slowly relaxed and began to play around again. The piglets sniffed and looked around, carefully exploring the surrounding meadows. That innocence has returned to the way it was just now. I stood by, watching this scene, still a little uneasy in my heart. In the distant woods, there was occasional slight movement. I can vaguely see the big wolf, still slowly wandering in the distance. The big wolf didn't come near, just quietly observed. The little piglets didn't seem to notice, running and playing. The sun shines on the piglets, making them look particularly peaceful. I didn't make a sound, just watched it all in silence. At that moment, the whole picture seemed calm, but there was a hint of uncertainty hidden in it. Not long after, there was another sound from the distant forest. I looked up, and the big wolf appeared again. The big wolf stopped not far from the little piglets, staring intently at the little piglets. Those eyes are sharp, but they also carry a hint of exploration. The little piglets were still playing, seemingly unaware of the wolf's approach. I stood there quietly, wondering what the big wolf was observing. The wolf's eyes turned to me and briefly met mine. The big wolf seemed to be confirming something, and the atmosphere was so quiet that only breathing was left. After a while, the wolf turned around gently and disappeared into the woods again. The sun shines again, and everything is calm again. After a while, a low movement came from the grass. I looked up, and a mother wild boar slowly appeared. The mother boar was much bigger and more imposing than I had expected. When the mother boar saw me with the piglets, she stopped in her tracks. At that moment, the mother boar's eyes became sharp and her mane stood up lightly. There was a hint of tension in the air. I immediately took a few steps back, maintaining a safe distance. The mother boar made a low voice, as if to remind her of something. Several little piglets quickly ran to the mother wild boar and approached obediently. Although the scene is a little shocking, it is also full of natural power. I stood from a distance, watching this scene, my heart still beating. I didn't expect this backyard adventure to have a real protagonist. After the mother boar returned to the piglet, the atmosphere became much quieter. The little ones are very reassuring next to their mother. Just then, the familiar footsteps came from deep in the forest. I looked up and the big wolf appeared again. The big wolf carefully hovered not far away, as if still observing. But this time, things were different. The mother boar is tall and mighty, lying firmly beside the piglets. The sun shines on the mother wild boar, making it look particularly imposing. The wolf stopped and hesitated for a moment. The wolf's eyes scanned back and forth between the mother boar and the little piglets. Finally, the big lamb turned around and slowly left the grass. I watched this scene from a distance and laughed in my heart. This forest confrontation is unexpectedly exciting. The sky is getting dark, and the wind in the backyard is slowly quieting down. The little piglets are still having a great time around their mother. The mother boar occasionally looks up to look around and continues to arch the dirt. I watched this scene from a distance and found it both novel and interesting. Who would have thought that such a small visitor would appear on an ordinary day? The appearance of wolves and wild boars made the backyard a little more lively and laughing. No twists and turns, no accidents, only the truest appearance of nature. The little piglets were like elves, curious and lively. I couldn't help but pick up my camera and record the joy of this moment. It's not a particularly memorable experience, but it makes you smile. Perhaps tomorrow, the wolves will come again to continue their adventure. The story has come to an end for the time being, but this ease and warmth will stay in my heart for a long time. The next morning, I was in the backyard again. The sun had just fallen on the hillside, and the air was particularly fresh. Not far away, the mother wild boar is slowly patrolling the mountain road. The mother boar walked steadily, calmly like a real mountain master. I suddenly noticed movement behind me, and two wolves quietly appeared on the edge of the grass not far away. The wolves moved slowly, as if observing something. From time to time, his eyes fell in the direction of the mother boar. However, in the face of that huge figure, the wolves kept their distance. The mother boar seemed to have noticed everything, but she still moved on calmly. I stood at a distance, only daring to watch quietly, not to disturb this natural scene. At that moment, the mountain forest was eerily quiet, but it concealed a delicate balance. Suddenly, the mother boar seemed to notice something. The mother boar stopped, raised her head, and moved her ears slightly. Then there was a low humming sound. The voice was not loud, but it carried a majesty that could not be ignored. The little piglets immediately stopped playing. The little heads are looking in one direction in unison. The piglets' movements are neat and a little funny, as if they are listening to their mother's instructions. I also followed the line of sight of the little piglets. The grass in the distance swayed gently, as if someone were there. The air suddenly became quiet, and I held my breath. At that moment, even the sun seemed particularly dazzling. The atmosphere is tense and wonderful, making people both curious and involuntarily heartbeat faster. The clever little piglets gathered together and leaned tightly. The clever little piglets gathered together and leaned tightly. The air was so quiet that you could hear the gentle shaking of leaves. The mother boar stood tall and steady behind the piglets. The mother boar's eyes are focused, always staring into the distance. The posture of the mother boar is a determined guardian. The piglets seemed to feel safe and gradually relaxed. The piglets leaned against their mother and hummed softly. The wolves stood in the distance, quietly watching the mother boar. The wolves' footsteps were very light, as if they were hesitating. The sun shines through the leaves and reflects on the figures on both sides. The air is so quiet that even the wind can be heard. The mother wild boar still stood firmly in place, with a calm expression. The aura of the mother boar makes the whole picture solemn. The wolves looked at each other and seemed to be weighing something in their hearts. After a few seconds, the wolves quietly turned around and left the grass. The piglets snuggled up to their mother and hummed softly. The mother boar lowered her head and gently sniffed the piglets. At that moment, the forest regained its tranquility and stability. That picture makes people unconsciously stop breathing to see. Without words, I can feel a power flowing. It is a natural affection and the softest side of nature. I stood in silence, only to feel this scene, warm and shocking. The big wolf seems to be planning something in his heart. The big wolf seems to be planning something in his heart. The calm forest guardian in front of him is full of momentum. The mother boar looked up slightly, and the sun shone on its mane. At that moment, the wolf seemed to understand something. The wolf gently wagged his tail and took a few steps back. His eyes stayed on the little piggy for a moment, then looked into the distance. Perhaps the big wolf understands that this grassland does not belong to him for the time being. The wind blew gently, and a few birdsong came from the forest. The big wolf turned around and slowly disappeared into the depths of the woods. The mother boar lowered her head and snorted, as if responding to the rhythm of nature. The sun shines on the grass again, and everything returns to tranquility and harmony. The sun shines on the grass, and the air has a faint earthy fragrance. The mother boar was lazily arching the soil aside, looking up from time to time with a safe expression. A few piglets are running around beside the mother wild boar, some rolling, some chasing fallen leaves. The figures of the little piglets flashed like dancing little dots of light. The little piggy occasionally hummed a few times, accompanied by the breeze, which was particularly quiet. The mother boar is just quietly guarding the children. The little piglets lost track of time and were happy and at ease. At this moment, the mountains and forests seem to be quietly accompanying the wild boars. The picture is gentle and peaceful, bringing this wonderful encounter to a happy conclusion. From the curiosity of the morning to the warmth of the moment, this backyard adventure seems like a gift from nature. This adventure made me feel again that in this quiet mountain forest, every encounter is precious. I didn't leave much, only a heart full of touching. Perhaps this is the most simple tenderness between life. I hope these animals can grow up freely and happily in their own world. This story has come to an end for the time being, but this warmth will stay in my heart for a long time.